Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Tonight we're diving into a chilling tale that'll make you think twice about working the night shift, especially at a lonely train station. Imagine being alone, miles from nowhere, with only the moonlight and some creepy rules to keep you company. Would you dare take that job? Let's find out in the ghost train of Shadow Vale Station. Grab a blanket, turn off the lights, and let's get started. The old pickup truck rattled down the dirt road, its headlights cutting through the fog that clung to Shadow Vale. Walter Hayes gripped the wheel, his knuckles white, the hum of the engine the only sound besides his own breathing. At 62, he'd seen plenty grease-stained garages, long nights fixing engines, and the quiet ache of losing Clara, his wife, 5 years back. Her smile still haunted him, warm like a summer day, her laugh tied to the country songs they danced to in their tiny kitchen. But now that life was gone, and Walter was here, starting a new job as a night shift ticket seller at a train station so far from town it might as well be nowhere. Shadow Vale Station squatted in a dark valley, surrounded by pines that leaned in like they were listening. The building was old, its wooden walls grey and splintered, the ticket booth a glass box barely big enough for a chair and a desk. The single rail track stretched into the forest, rusty and swallowed by mist, like it led to nothing at all. Walter parked, grabbed his thermos of coffee, and stepped out, the cold biting his face. The air smelled of damp earth and pine, but something else lingered, something sour, like old metal left to rot. Inside the booth, the light was dim, a single bulb flickering above. A radio sat on the desk, dusty but working, next to a schedule of trains that barely came. Walter set down his thermos, pulled out Clara's old photo from his wallet, her in a sundress, laughing, and propped it by the radio. "Gonna make it through this, darlin'," he muttered, his voice rough. The job was simple. Sell tickets, mark the log, stay awake till dawn. Easy money for a man who didn't sleep much anyway. Ruth, the station manager, had shown him the ropes that morning. She was older than him, her face lined like cracked earth, her eyes sharp. "Follow the rules," she'd said, handing him a crumpled paper. Walter had skimmed it. Rules like don't sell tickets after midnight when the moon's brightest, and ignore knocks on the booth after midnight. Crazy talk, like ghost stories kids told around a campfire. "You serious?" he'd asked, but Ruth's stare shut him up. Every word, she'd said, and left him to it. He'd stuffed the list in his pocket, figuring it was some small-town hazing for the new guy. The first week was quiet. A few locals came by, farmers heading to market, a night worker catching the 10 p.m. train. Walter sold tickets, sipped coffee, and played Clara's radio, the country tunes filling the booth. He'd talk to her photo sometimes, telling her about the day, the way the fog never lifted, how the forest seemed to watch him. It was lonely, but he liked it that way. No one to bother him, no one to see the pain in his eyes when he thought of Clara's accident, the car wreck he couldn't stop. Tonight, though, felt different. The moon was full, brighter than he'd ever seen, its light pouring through the booth's glass like water. The pines outside stood still, no wind, but their shadows stretched long, like fingers reaching for the tracks. Walter checked his watch. 11:30 p.m. and poured more coffee, the steam curling in the cold air. He turned up the radio, Johnny Cash's voice steady and familiar, trying to shake the unease creeping up his spine. The rules were nonsense, he told himself. Just old superstitions from a town with too many ghost stories. But the forest was too quiet. No crickets, no owls, just that sour smell growing stronger, like something dead nearby. Walter glanced at the rules, still in his pocket, and snorted. Don't look at the tracks if you hear a train whistle at night. Ridiculous. He'd been here a week, and the only trains were the ones on the schedule to a night, loud and modern, not some haunted junk from a fairy tale. Still, his hand stayed, near the radio, ready to crank it louder if the silence got too heavy. At 11:50, the radio crackled, Johnny Cash cutting out mid. Static hissed, loud and sharp, like a swarm of bees. Walter frowned, twisting the dial, but the noise grew, a faint voice buried in it, soft and broken. Shadowvale, come home. His heart skipped, his fingers frozen on the knob. He yanked the plug from the wall, the static dying, the booth silent again. His breath was loud, too loud, and he laughed, shaky. Damn old radio, he muttered, glancing at Clara's photo. You'd tell me I'm jumping at shadows, wouldn't you? He plugged the radio back in, the silence worse than the static. The moon's light was blinding now, the tracks glowing like silver veins in the fog. Walter sipped his coffee, the bitterness grounding him, but his eyes kept drifting to the rules. Lock the booth after 11 p.m. He checked the door already. Bolted. Good. He wasn't scared, just cautious. Small town or not, you didn't leave doors open in the middle of nowhere. Then, at 11:55, a sound came, a low, mournful whistle, like a train, but wrong, too deep, too sad. Walter's stomach twisted. The schedule showed no trains till 2 a.m. He stood, peering through the glass. The fog, thick but parting just enough to show the tracks, empty and still. The whistle came again, closer, from the forest's heart, where the rails vanished. His hand went to the rules, pulling them out, his eyes scanning. Don't look at the tracks if you hear a whistle. He shook his head, crumpling the paper. Ain't no ghost train, he said, but his voice was thin, like he was trying to convince himself. The clock ticked to midnight, the moon at its peak, and the booth felt smaller, the air heavier, like something was waiting just outside. The clock's hands hit midnight, the moon's light flooding Shadowvale station like a spotlight, turning the foggy tracks into a silver scar. Walter Hayes stood frozen in the ticket booth, his breath shallow, the crumpled list of rules in his hand. That train whistle low, mournful, wrong still echoed in his ears, coming from deep in the forest where no train should be. His coffee sat cold on the desk, Clara's photo watching him, her smile a faint comfort against the sour smell creeping through the booth's cracks, like something dead and old. He shook his head, muttering, ain't no ghost train, but his heart wasn't buying it. The silence was heavy, the radio dead since he'd yanked its plug after that creepy static, the voice whispering Shadowvale. Come home. He sat, hard, in the chair, the rules words swimming in his mind. Don't sell tickets after midnight when the moon's brightest. Stupid, he thought. Just small-town nonsense. But his eyes kept darting to the glass, expecting something in. The fog, those pines, still as statues, their shadows like claws. He checked the door locked tight. Good. The schedule showed no trains till 2 a.m., so that whistle was just what? His imagination. A trick of the wind. Walter rubbed his face, the stubble rough, wishing Clara was here to laugh at him, call him a fool for jumping at shadows. A soft tap came at the glass, sharp in the quiet. Walter's head snapped up, his heart kicking like an engine. A young woman stood outside the booth, her face pale, her dark eyes deep, like they held no light. She wore a faded dress, floral, straight out of the 80s, her blonde hair limp in the fog. "Ticket, please," she said, her voice soft, almost a whisper, her breath not fogging the glass despite the cold. Walter blinked, his hand hovering over the ticket book. The rules screamed in his head. Don't sell tickets after midnight. She looked harmless, just a kid, maybe 20, lost in the middle of nowhere. "Where you headed?" he asked, his voice gruff, trying to sound normal. She tilted her head, her smile thin, like she knew something he didn't. "The end of the line," she said, her words slow, like they carried weight. Walter frowned, glancing at the schedule. No such stop existed. But she kept staring, her eyes unblinking, and his fingers moved, almost on their own, tearing off a ticket. "Name?" he asked, pen ready. "Sarah," she said, and he wrote it down. Reading it aloud, Sarah before catching himself, the 6th rule flashing. Don't read names aloud after midnight. Too late, he slid the ticket under the glass, her fingers cold as ice when they brushed his. "That'll be $5, he said, but she was already turning, the ticket in her hand, walking toward the tracks, the fog swallowing her like she'd never been there. Walter shook his head, muttering, "Damn fool, breaking rules for a kid." He sat back, the booth feeling smaller, the moonlight too bright, like it was watching him. His hand shook as he sipped his cold coffee, Clara's photo steadying him. "You'd tell me to relax, wouldn't you?" he said to her, his voice soft. 10 minutes later, a low rumble shook the booth, the glass rattling. Walter stood, his chair scraping, and peered out. The fog parted, and a train rolled in, slow and heavy, its metal groaning like a wounded animal. It was old, rusted, no number on its side, its windows dark, like empty eyes. Walter's stomach dropped. This wasn't the 2 a.m. freight, all sleek and loud. This was something else, something wrong, its wheels screeching, sparks flying on the rusty tracks. It stopped, no lights, no sound but a faint hiss, like steam escaping a grave. The doors didn't open, but Walter felt that something was there, waiting. He backed away from the glass, his breath fast, the rules in his pocket burning like a warning. Don't look at the tracks. He'd already looked, hadn't he? The train sat silent, the fog curling around it, and then, with a shudder, it rolled back into the forest, vanishing as quick as it came. Walter sank into his chair, his heart pounding, telling himself it was just an old freight, off schedule, nothing more. He grabbed the radio, plugging it in, needing noise, anything to drown the quiet. Johnny Cash came on, but the song was wrong, slow, warped, like it was underwater. He turned it off, his hands shaking, and dozed off, exhaustion pulling him under. In his dream, Clara stood on a burning train, her dress on fire, her eyes sad. "Why'd you let me go, Walt?" she whispered, and he reached for her, but the flames swallowed her. He woke with a gasp, the clock showing 12:30 a.m., the moon still blazing. The radio was on again, unplugged but playing, a news report, old and crackly. Tragedy at Chateauvale. 1985. Train 485 derailed. 50 souls lost in the fire. Walter yanked the plug, his hands cold, but the voice kept going, fading into static. He checked the radio, dead. Unplugged, silent, another tap at the glass. Walter froze, his pulse roaring. Sarah was back, same dress, same pale face, same empty eyes. "Ticket, please," she said, her voice colder now, like it came from the ground. Walter's mouth went dry, the rules screaming, Don't sell tickets, don't read names. No, he croaked, shaking his head. Stations closed. Her smile grew, sharp, like a blade. The end of the line, she said, and held up the ticket he'd sold her, its edges charred, the name Sarah glowing red. He stumbled back, knocking over his coffee, the liquid pooling like blood. Get out, he shouted, breaking another. Ruled on answer after midnight. The booth shook, the glass creaking, and that whistle came again, louder, closer. The rumble of the rusted train rolling back. Walter peered out, his breath fogging the glass, and saw the same train, its side scraped. A faint number under the rust, 485. His heart stopped. The train from the radio, the one that burned, that killed them all. Sarah tapped again, her nails scratching the glass, her eyes locked on his. The fog thickened, the tracks glowing, and footsteps sounded outside, not one, but many, crunching toward the booth. Walter grabbed the rules, his hands trembling, reading them fast. Lock the door, ignore knocks. The door was locked, but the footsteps grew louder, and Sarah's voice wasn't alone. Now it was a chorus, low and hungry, calling his name. The booth's glass rattled as Sarah's nails scratched. Her pale face pressed close, her black eyes boring into Walter Hayes. The rusted train, number 485, loomed outside, its dark windows like holes in the night, the fog curling around it like smoke. Footsteps crunched in the gravel dozens, slow and heavy, circling Shadowvale Station. Walter's heart pounded, his breath fogging the air, the crumpled rules clutched in his sweaty hand. He'd broken them, sold tickets after midnight, read. Sarah's name aloud, answered her call, and now the forest was alive. The moon's light too bright, the sour smell of decay choking him. Clara's photo lay on the desk, her smile a faint anchor, but even that felt far away, like she was slipping from him. Walter, Sarah whispered, her voice joined by others, a low chorus that crawled under his skin. He dropped to the floor, crawling under the desk, his knees scraping the cold wood. The second rule burned in his mind. Ignore knocks after midnight. He'd already messed that up, shouting at her, breaking another rule by speaking. The booth felt like a trap, the walls closing in, the locked door useless against whatever was out there. He clutched the rules, reading them in the dim moonlight. Don't look at the tracks if you hear a whistle. Too late for that, the train was here, the same one from the radio's ghost report, the one that burned 50 souls in 1985. The scratching stopped, but the silence was worse. Walter held his breath, listening, his pulse loud in his ears. The radio, unplugged and dead, crackled to life, static hissing like a snake. A voice came through, old and broken, the same news report. Train 485 derailed at Shadowvale. Screams filled the night as fire consumed. The voice shifted, turning, soft, like Sarah's, saying his name. Walter, come home. He kicked the radio, hard, the plastic cracking, but the voice kept going, louder, joined by screams, like people burning alive. He covered his ears, whispering, Clara, help me, but her photo didn't answer, its edges curling in the damp air. A gust of wind slammed the booth, the glass creaking, and a storm rolled in, sudden and fierce. Thunder rumbled, lightning flashing, lighting up the tracks where shapes moved people. Dozens, in old coats and dresses, their faces pale, eyes empty. They walked toward the station, their steps out of sync with the gravel's crunch, like they weren't really touching the ground. Walter peeked over the desk, his heart racing, and saw them clearer: men in work boots, women in floral skirts, a kid with a cap, all from another time, the 80s, their clothes faded, their skin too. White. The rules said don't look, but he couldn't stop. His eyes locked on a woman in the crowd, her face like Clara's but wrong, her eyes yellow, her smile twisted. He ducked back down, his hands shaking, the rules falling to the floor. He grabbed them, scanning fast, looking for a way out. Lock the door after 11 p.m. done, but it didn't matter, the booth shook, the glass bending like something was pushing from outside. He remembered Ruth's face, her warning, and cursed himself for laughing at her. Just a job, he'd thought, but now he was trapped. The forest alive, the train waiting, and Sarah's voice everywhere. Singing now, a slow folk tune he didn't know. Joined by the others, their voices hollow, like wind through a grave. The booth's light flickered, the bulb buzzing, and Walter's breath caught as a vision hit him fire. Everywhere, the trains. Toothy grin, people screaming, clawing at locked doors, Clara among them, her dress burning, her eyes begging. He blinked, back in the booth, his hands burned, like he'd touched the flames. Clara wasn't there, he whispered, his voice raw. She'd died in a car crash, not a train, but the vision felt real, like the train was pulling his mind. Apart, he crawled to the desk, grabbing her photo, holding it tight. "I'm sorry, darling," he said, tears stinging. "I couldn't save you." Sarah's voice came again, closer, through the glass. "Ticket, please." The scratching returned, louder, the glass cracking, a thin line splitting the pane. Walter stayed low, his back against the desk, whispering the rules like a prayer. Ignore knocks, don't sell tickets, don't look. But he'd broken them all, hadn't he? The footsteps stopped, but the shapes were outside, their shadows falling. Through the cracked glass, long and wrong, like they weren't human anymore. Lightning flashed, and Walter saw them, faces pressed to the glass. Not Sarah's, but others, their skin peeling, eyes glowing yellow, mouths open in silent screams. The radio blared again, the news report looping, but now it said his name. Walter Hayes, lost to train 485. He screamed, "Shut up." Breaking another rule, his voice echoing in the booth. The glass shattered, a single pane falling, the storm's wind roaring in, carrying that sour smell like ash and death. Walter scrambled back, his boots slipping, the rules lost in the dark. He grabbed Clara's photo, stuffing it in his pocket, his only piece of her left. The shapes didn't come through the broken glass, not yet, but their voices did, whispering, "Join us, Walter," the folk tune louder. Clara's voice in it now, soft and sad. He looked at the door locked, but shaking, like hands were pushing it. The rules were useless, all broken, but he remembered one: don't read names aloud. He'd done that, said Sarah, and now she was here, her face at the broken glass, her smile wide, her teeth too sharp. "You called me," she said, her voice. A chorus, the other shapes nodding, their eyes locked on him. Walter's chest tightened, his breath short, the booth spinning. Another vision hit him on the train, fire licking his skin, Clara reaching, but her face turned to Sarah's, laughing. He snapped back, the storm raging, the pines bending like they were alive, their branches scraping the booth's roof. The train's whistle blew, so loud it shook his bones, and Walter knew it was close, waiting for him. He crawled to the corner, his back to the wall, the broken glass letting in the cold. The shadows moving closer, their hands reaching, not touching him, but pulling, like they wanted his soul. Sarah's voice was soft now, almost kind. The end of the line, Walter, come home. The storm howled through the broken glass of Shadowvale Station's ticket booth, wind tearing at Walter Hayes like icy claws. Sarah's face hovered at the shattered pane, her sharp smile glinting in the moonlight, her yellow eyes glowing like coals. The ghostly passengers crowded behind her, their shapes twisting, skin peeling, bones jutting, mouths stretched in silent screams. Their voices sang that eerie folk tune, Clara's voice woven in, soft and pleading, breaking Walter's heart. He cowered in the corner, his back pressed to the wall. Clara's photo crushed in his pocket, the rules lost somewhere in the dark. The rusted train, number 485, waited on the tracks, its whistle a low moan that shook the booth, calling him to the end of the line. Walter's breath came in gasps, the sour smell of ash and death choking him. The radio, smashed and unplugged, hissed static, spitting out the 1985 news report. Train 485. Fire consumed all. The voice turned to Sarah's, laughing. You called me, Walter. He'd broken the rules, sold tickets after midnight, read her name, answered her hand. Now the booth was a cage, the locked door rattling, the storm raging like it wanted to tear the world apart. Lightning flashed, showing the passengers closer, their hands reaching through the broken glass, not touching him, but pulling, like they were tugging his soul. Get away, Walter shouted, his voice raw, breaking another rule: don't answer after midnight. The booth shook harder, the walls creaking, the light bulb above bursting in a shower of sparks. He scrambled to the desk, his boots slipping on spilled coffee, searching for something, anything, to fight back. His hand found the rules, crumpled on the floor, but they were useless now, every line crossed. Don't look at the tracks. He'd looked. Ignore knocks. He'd answered. Don't sell tickets. He'd sold two to Sarah, and now she was here, her. Chorus of voices growing, chanting his name like a curse. The storm's wind screamed, pines outside bending, their branches scraping the roof like nails on a coffin. Walter's eyes darted to the door, still locked, but bending like invisible hands were pushing. He grabbed the desk's edge, his heart pounding, and saw it a small cross, wooden, tucked in a drawer. Probably Ruth's. He held it tight, its edges digging into his palm, and thrust it toward the glass, shouting, back off. The passengers hissed, their shapes flinching, but Sarah didn't move, her smile wider, her eyes locked on his. You can't run, she said, her voice a whisper in his head, not his ears. Another vision hit, hard and fast. Walter was on train for 185. Fire everywhere, the toothy grin of metal twisting, passengers screaming, clawing at doors. Clara was there, her dress burning, her eyes pleading, why'd you let me go, Walt? He reached for her, but she turned to ash, her face becoming Sarah's, laughing. Walter snapped back to the booth, his hands burning like he'd touched the flames. He dropped the cross, his chest tight, tears mixing with sweat. Clara wasn't on that train, he whispered, but the visions were real, like the train was stealing his mind, mixing his guilt with its curse. The passengers pressed closer, their hands through the glass, long and bony, their fingers brushing the air near his face. Walter crawled back, kicking the desk, knocking over Clara's photo. He grabbed it, holding it to his chest, whispering, I'm sorry, darling, I couldn't save you. The folk tune grew louder, the passengers' voices a choir, Clara's voice, clear now, singing words he didn't know, pulling at his heart. He wanted to go to her, to make it right, but Sarah's laugh cut through, sharp and cold. "She's with us," she said, her face inches from the broken glass, her breath a chill that fogged the air. Walter stood, shaky, the cross in one hand, Clara's photo in the other. "I didn't mean it," he said, his voice breaking, begging the ghosts, Sarah, anyone I didn't know. He tried to pray, words his mama taught him years ago, but they felt empty, drowned by the storm and the train's whistle, louder. Now, like it was inside his skull. The passengers' shapes changed, their bodies stretching, faces melting into skulls, eyes blazing yellow, their hands reaching further, brushing his arm, cold as death. He swung the cross, wild, and they pulled back, but only an inch. Their laughter a low rumble, like thunder. The booth's door buckled, wood splintering, and Walter knew it wouldn't hold. He looked at the tracks, the train still there, its doors open now, dark and waiting, the fog swirling like a tunnel to nowhere. Another vision came him on the train, Clara beside him, her hand warm. But the fire came, and she screamed, her face turning to Sarah's, her eyes yellow, her voice saying, "Join us." Walter fell to his knees, the booth spinning, the storms, wind tearing through, papers flying, the rules gone. Lost in the chaos, he crawled to the radio, its plastic cracked, and smashed it again, screaming, "Stop." But the static kept going, the news report now saying, Walter Hayes lost a train 485. He threw the cross at the glass, hitting Sarah's face, and she vanished, her laugh echoing. The passengers stepping back, but not gone. The storm roared, trees snapping outside, their branches crashing like bones. Walter grabbed Clara's photo, kissing it, his tears falling. "I'll fix this," he whispered, but he didn't know how. The rules broken, the ghosts closing in. Sarah's voice came again, from everywhere, soft and cruel. The end of the line, Walter. The train's whistle blew, shaking the booth, and the passengers surged forward, their hands through the broken glass, not touching but pulling, harder now, like they were tearing him apart. Walter screamed, his voice lost in the storm, the booth's walls cracking, the door splintering, and the train's doors wide, calling him to the fire, to Clara, to the end. The ticket booth at Shadowvale Station groaned under the storm's fury, its splintered door hanging by a hinge, the broken glass letting in wind that screamed like a living thing. Walter Hayes clung to the floor, his heart hammering, Clara's crumpled photo pressed to his chest. The ghostly passengers loomed outside, their skeletal hands reaching through the shattered pane, their yellow eyes blazing in the moonlight. Sarah's voice echoed, soft and cruel. The end of the line, Walter, the rusted train, number 485, waited on the tracks, its open doors a black void, its whistle a low wail that pulled at his soul. The sour smell of ash choked the air. The folk tune from the ghost Clara's voice in it twisting his heart like a knife. Walter's hands shook, the wooden cross he'd thrown at Sarah lost in the debris, his last offense gone. The passengers didn't touch him, but their cold fingers brushed his mind, tugging like they were unraveling him. He'd broken every rule, sold tickets after midnight, read Sarah's name. Looked at the track sand now, the booth was a wreck, the storm tearing it apart, the pines outside snapping like bones. Lightning flashed, showing the passengers' faces melted, hollow, not human anymore, their mouths singing that eerie song, calling him to the train. Then silence. The wind stopped, the passengers froze, their eyes dimming. Sarah stepped through the broken glass, not climbing, but gliding, her floral dress untouched by the storm, her blonde hair still, her eyes now pure yellow, like fire. She stood in the booth, inches from Walter, the air around her cold as a grave. He scrambled back, his back hitting the wall, Clara's photo slipping from his fingers. "What do you want?" he croaked, his voice barely a whisper, fear choking him. Sarah tilted her head, her smile sharp, like she'd waited for this moment. "You called me," she said, her voice a chorus, layered with the passengers' wails. "You sold the tickets. You're the guide now." Walter shook his head, his breath ragged, the rules flashing in his mind, useless and broken. "I didn't know," he said, tears burning his eyes. "I didn't mean it." Sarah crouched, her face level with his, her eyes locking on, stealing his breath. "You don't need to mean it," she said. "The train chooses." She waved a hand, and the booth faded, replaced by a vision train, 485, 1985, rolling through Shadow Vale's fog. Walter saw it clear, like he was there. The station, newer then, a ticket seller, young, nervous, selling a ticket after midnight, ignoring the rules. The train derailed, metal screaming, fire swallowing the cars, 50 souls trapped, burning. Their screams echoing. Sarah's face appeared in the flames, her eyes yellow, her voice soft. "He broke the rules, like you. He became the guide, binding us to the train. Now, it's your turn." The vision snapped away, the booth back, Sarah still there, her smile gone, her eyes hard. "Every ticket you sold fed the curse," she said. "Every name you read woke us. You're ours, Walter, or you join us on the train forever." Walter's heart sank, his mind racing. The rules, Ruth's warning, the radio's report, it all fit, a trap set long before he came. "Why me?" he whispered, clutching Clara's photo from the floor, its edges torn. Sarah's eyes softened, just a flicker, like she remembered. "Pain, because you're broken," she said, "like me, like them." A ticket appeared in her hand, charred, the name Walter Hayes glowing red. "Take it," she said, holding it out, the air around it shimmering like heat off a fire. Walter stared, his hand twitching, the train's whistle blowing again, louder, pulling at him. Another vision hit Clara on the train, her dress whole, her smile warm, beckoning him. "Come home, Walt," she said, but her eyes turned yellow. Her face Sarah's, and the fire came, burning her away. Walter gasped, back in the booth, the ticket still there, Sarah waiting, the passengers outside stirring, their song starting again. "No," he said, his voice stronger, shoving the ticket away. Sarah's smile returned, cold. "You can't fight it," she said, and snapped her fingers. The booth caught fire, flames licking the walls, green and unnatural, not burning the wood, but searing Walter's skin. He screamed, rolling away, the flames vanishing, his hands unburned but shaking. Sarah laughed, the passengers joining, their voices a roar. "Take the ticket, or we take you," she said, and stepped back, vanishing into the fog. The passengers following, their eyes lingering, watching. The storm roared back, wind tearing through, the train's doors still open, its whistle a scream now. Walter crawled to the desk, his body heavy, like the curse was pulling him down. He found the rules, one page left, and read it, desperate. "Don't read names aloud." Too late, but another caught his eye. "Don't accept a ticket with your name." He looked at the charred ticket on the floor, his name glowing, and kicked it away, his boot leaving ash. "I won't go," he said, his voice breaking, thinking of Clara, her laugh, her love. He'd failed her once, but he wouldn't let this curse take him. Not yet. The booth shook the passengers' hands back at the glass. Their faces skulls now, teeth bared, the folk tune deafening, Clara's voice gone, replaced by Sarah's, singing his name. Walter grabbed the desk, pulling himself up, and saw it a new ticket on the desk. Not charred, but fresh, his name in black ink, like it was waiting. The train's whistle blew, the tracks glowing red, the fog parting to show Clara, standing at the train's door, her dress clean, her eyes sad. "Walt," she whispered, and he stepped toward the glass, his hand on the lock, the curse pulling, Sarah's laugh echoing, the passengers waiting for him to break. The ticket booth at Shadowvale Station was a ruin, its shattered glass glinting in the moonlight, the splintered door swinging in the storm's howl. Walter Hayes stood, his hand on the lock, his heart tearing as Clara's figure waited at the open doors of train 485, her sad eyes pulling him. The rusted train groaned on the tracks, its black void calling, the fog swirling like a trap. Sarah's laugh echoed, sharp and cold, her yellow-eyed passengers crowding the broken glass, their skeletal hands reaching, their folk tune a haunting wail. A ticket lay on the desk, Walter's name in black ink, glowing faintly, the curses. Final law. But he stepped back, his boots crunching glass, Clara's photo in his pocket, her memory stronger than the train's pull. "No," Walter said, his voice steady despite the fear choking him. "I ain't going." The passengers hissed, their faces twisting skulls now, teeth bared, eyes blazing yellow. Sarah appeared at the glass, her floral dress still, her smile gone, her eyes fire. "You can't fight it," she said, her voice a chorus, layered with screams. Walter's hand tightened, his mind racing Sarah's words from before, the curse's history. The ticket seller who broke the rules in 1985, binding 50 souls to the train. He was the guide now, but he wouldn't let it take him, not without a fight. He grabbed the ticket, not to take it, but to tear it, his fingers shaking as the ink burned his skin. The passengers roared, the booth shaking, the storm's wind screaming, pines snapping outside like gunfire. Walter ripped the ticket, the pieces glowing red, turning to ash in his hands. Sarah's eyes widened, her scream piercing, the passengers lunging, their hands through the glass. Cold as death, brushing his arms. He stumbled, hitting the desk, and saw the wooden cross, Ruth's, half buried in debris. He snatched it, holding it high, his voice cracking. "Back off. You ain't got me yet." The passengers recoiled, their shapes flickering, but Sarah stayed, her laugh low, like thunder. "Brave, but foolish," she said, and snapped her fingers. The booth's walls creaked, green flames licking up, not burning but searing Walter's mind. Visions flashing train for 85's fire, passengers screaming. Clara among them, her face melting, her voice begging. Walter fell to his knees, the cross slipping, his hands burning. But he clung to Clara's photo, whispering, "I'm here, darling. I won't let go." The vision faded, the booth back, the flames gone, but Sarah was closer, her hand outstretched. A new ticket glowing, his name red now, like blood. "You're ours," she said, her voice soft, almost sad. Walter shook his head, crawling to the corner, the cross in one hand, Clara's photo in the other. He remembered the rules, broken but maybe not useless. Don't accept a ticket with your name. He wouldn't take it, no matter what. The train's whistle blew, shaking his bones, the tracks glowing red. The fog parting to show Clara again, her dress clean, her smile warm. "Walt, come home," she said, but her voice was wrong, layered with Sarah's, her eyes yellow for a flash. Walter turned away, his heart breaking, knowing it wasn't her. Just the curse's trick. The passengers surged their hands through the glass, not brushing now, but grabbing, cold and strong, pulling his arms. Walter swung the cross, wild, hitting air, but the ghosts laughed, their song louder, drowning the storm. He saw a phone, his old flip phone, under the desk, and grabbed it, his hands shaking, opening it to record. "This is Walter Hayes," he rasped, his voice raw. "Shadow Vale Station, train 485, Sarah, the rules I broke M. Don't sell tickets after midnight, don't read names, don't take the ticket. Clara, I'm sorry, I love you." He hit save, shoving the phone into the ticket drawer, hoping someone would find it. Break this curse. Sarah's hand shot out, grabbing his wrist, her touch ice, her eyes fire. "Enough," she said, and the booth vanished, Walter standing on train 485. Fire everywhere, passengers clawing at him, their faces skulls, their screams deafening. Clara stood ahead, untouched by flames, her eyes sad, not yellow. "Fight." "Walt," she whispered, her voice real, not Sarah's, like a memory breaking through. Walter blinked, back in the booth, Sarah's grip gone. But the passengers were inside now, their shapes filling the room, their hands on his shoulders, pulling him toward the door. He swung the cross, hitting Sarah's face, her scream a howl. Her form flickering, the passengers pausing, their eyes dimming. "You can't have me," Walter shouted, his voice stronger, Clara's words in his head. He stumbled to the door, locking it again, the splintered wood holding, barely. The train's whistle screamed, the tracks glowing brighter, the fog a tunnel to the train's open doors. Sarah reappeared, her face twisted, not human, her voice a snarl. "You'll burn with us." The booth shook, walls cracking, the passengers' hands tightening, their song a roar, Clara's voice gone. Walter held the cross, his last stand, and saw Clara's photo on the floor, her smile clear, giving him strength. He wouldn't take the ticket, wouldn't join them, but the train was coming, its rumble shaking the ground. Sarah's eyes promising pain, the passengers ready to drag him to the end of the line. The ticket booth at Shadow Vale Station was crumbling, its walls cracked. The shattered glass a jagged mouth letting in the storm's roar. Walter Hayes stood, clutching the wooden cross, his breath ragged, Clara's photo pressed against his heart. Sarah's twisted face glared through the broken pane, her yellow eyes burning, her voice a snarl. "You'll burn with us." The ghostly passengers filled the booth, their skeletal forms looming, hands cold as ice gripping his shoulders, pulling him toward the splintered door. Train 485 waited on the tracks, its rusted hull groaning, its open doors a black abyss, the whistle screaming like a banshee. The fog swirled, the moon's light dimming, the sour smell of ash thick enough to choke. Walter's legs shook, the cross heavy in his hand, his recording safe in the ticket drawer, a desperate hope someone would find it. The passengers' folk tune was gone, replaced by a low hum, like a heartbeat from the train, Clara's voice lost in it. Sarah stepped closer, her floral dress untouched by the wind, her eyes fire, a charred ticket in her hand, Walter's name glowing red. "Take it," she said, her voice soft now, almost pleading, but her smile was cruel, promising pain. The ghosts tightened their grip, their fingers digging into his soul, not his flesh, pulling him toward the train. He thought of Clara, her laugh, her warmth, the promise he'd made to protect her, broken when her car crashed 5 years ago. "I failed you," he whispered, tears falling, but her memory sparked something. Her voice from the last vision, "Fight, Walt." Sarah had said the curse needed a guide, someone to bind the souls. Like the ticket seller in 1985, like Walter now. But what if he could break it, not by running, but by giving himself? Not to join them, but to set them free. The idea hit hard, a flicker of hope in the dark. "No more," Walter said, his voice steady, shoving the cross at Sarah. She hissed. Stepping back, the passengers pausing, their eyes flickering. He tore Clara's photo from his pocket, kissing it, her smile giving him strength. "I'm ending this," he said, and lunged for the door, not to escape, but to face the train. The ghosts grabbed him, their hands like iron, but he swung the cross, wild, their screams echoing, their forms flickering like bad TV static. Sarah lunged, her nails clawing air, but Walter broke free. Stumbling through the shattered door, the storm's wind slamming him, the tracks glowed red, the train's doors wide, the fog a tunnel leading inside. Clara stood there, not a trick. This time her eyes soft, not yellow, her dress clean, her hand outstretched. "Walt, you can do this," she whispered, her voice real, like a memory breaking through the curse. Walter's heart broke, knowing he'd lose her again, but he nodded, his boots crunching gravel. The passengers behind him, Sarah's scream, a howl, "You can't." He reached the train, its metal cold, the whistle deafening, the air thick. With ash, the ghosts surged, their hands pulling, but Walter turned, holding the cross high, shouting, "Let them go." He didn't know if it would work, but he thought of the rules, the curse, Sarah's words, the guide held the souls. If he took their place, maybe they'd be free. He stepped toward the doors, Clara's figure fading, her smile proud, her voice faint. "I love you, Walt." Sarah appeared, blocking the doors, her face a skull, her eyes fire. "You'll trap us forever," she snarled, but her voice cracked like she was scared. Walter saw it, her pain, her years bound to the train, a victim turned jailer. "Sorry," he said, not to her, but to all of them, and stepped forward, the cross burning in his hand. The ghost's screams rising, the train shaking. He crossed the threshold, the doors slamming shut, the world fading, fire licking his skin, but not burning, not yet. Inside, the toothy grin was dark. The passengers' faces human, again men, women, a kid with a cap, their eyes soft, not yellow, their hands reaching, not to grab, but to thank. Clara was there, a memory, not a ghost, her hand on his cheek, her voice clear, "You did it, Walt." The fire grew, green and cold, wrapping him, but the passengers faded, their forms light, like they were slipping away, free at last. Sarah's scream echoed, her face in the flames, her eyes dimming, her curse breaking. Or so he hoped. Walter felt himself fading, his body light, the cross gone, Clara's photo ash in his hand. He saw the booth, distant, the storm quieting, the moon soft now, not blinding. He whispered, "Clara, I'm coming," and let go. The train's whistle, a soft hum, the fire taking him, the curse claiming its price. The train rolled, not into fog, but into nothing, the tracks empty, the station silent. Dawn broke over Shadowvale Station, the storm gone, the air still, the fog thin enough to show the pines standing quiet, like they'd never moved. The ticket booth was a wrecked glass, shattered, door splintered, walls cracked like something had tried to tear it apart. The rusty tracks stretched into the forest, empty. No sign of train 485, its whistle silent. The moon, pale now, hung low, its blinding light faded, the sour smell of ash just a faint memory. Inside the booth, coffee stained the floor, papers scattered, the radio smashed. But the ticket drawer sat closed, Walter Hayes' flip phone hidden inside, his last words waiting. Tom Riley, the day shift ticket seller, pulled up in his beat-up sedan, his breath fogging in the morning chill. He was young, barely 30, new to Shadowvale, taking the job for quick cash. He frowned at the booth state, muttering, "What the hell happened?" The door creaked as he pushed it open, glass crunching under his boots. No sign of Walter. The old guy who worked nights, just chaos desk, overturned, a wooden cross on the floor, a torn photo of a smiling woman, her face smudged. Tom's stomach twisted, the quiet too heavy, like the station was holding its breath. He checked the logbook. Walter's last entry. Midnight, 2 tickets sold, names unreadable, smudged like ash. Tom shook his head, figuring Walter trashed the place and bailed, maybe drunk or spooked by the storm. But Ruth, the manager, had warned him about the rules. Her voice sharp. Don't sell tickets after midnight. Don't ignore the rules. Tom had laughed, like Walter, thinking it was small-town nonsense. Now, standing in the ruined booth, he wasn't so sure. He opened the ticket drawer, looking for the cash box, and found the phone. Old and scratched, its screen cracked. Curious, he flipped it open, seeing a recording, time-stamped to 17 a.m. He hit play. Walter's voice rough and shaking. "This is Walter Hayes. Shadowvale Station. Train 485. Sarah, the rules I broke M. Don't sell tickets after midnight. Don't read names. Don't take the ticket. Clara, I'm sorry. I love you." Screams followed, not human, and a whistle, low and wrong, then static. Tom's hand shook, his eyes darting to the tracks, empty, but glowing faintly red in the dawn light, like they remembered. He called Ruth, his voice unsteady, telling her about the booth, Walter gone, the recording. She arrived fast, her face pale, listening to the phone with eyes wide, like she'd heard it before. "Damn fool," she whispered, not angry but sad, like she knew Walter's fate. She took the phone, the cross, the torn photo, and told Tom to clean up, say nothing. "This place is cursed," she said, her voice low. "Always has been." Tom wanted to ask about Train 485, the 1985 fire, but Ruth's look silenced him. She left, the phone in her pocket, the recording a secret. She'd keep, or so she thought. Word spread, small towns being what they are. By noon, locals whispered at the diner Walter Hayes, missing, his booth trashed, a ghost train to blame. Old-timers dug up stories of 1985, the derailment that killed 50, the ticket seller who vanished, never named. The recording leaked. Someone at the sheriff's office hearing it, a kid copying it, uploading it online. It went viral in days, the Shadowvale tape, clicks climbing. Comments wild, fake, but creepy, or I heard that whistle last night. The station became a ghost hunter's dream, teens sneaking in, leaving spray-painted 485s on the tracks, their eyes blank, like something watched them. Ruth tried to shut it down, closing the station, boarding the booth, but the stories grew. A farmer swore he saw train 485 on a moonlit night, rusted and slow, Walter's face at a window, beside a woman in a sundress, both pale, both gone when he blinked. A kid found a ticket in the woods, charred, no name, and burned it, his hands shaking, the air sour with ash. Tom quit moving to the city, but dreamed of tracks glowing red, Sarah's voice whispering, "Ticket, please." He never told anyone, scared it would follow him. The station stayed empty, its wood rotting, the tracks rusting deeper, but the curse didn't sleep. Ruth, alone one night, found a ticket in her purse, her name in black ink, glowing faint. She burned it, praying, but heard a whistle, low and sad, from the forest. She never spoke of it, but her eyes changed, like she knew her time was coming. The pines around Shadowvale stood still, their shadows long, like hands waiting. The fog thicker some nights, the moon too bright, the tracks humming. Like train 485 was close, its doors open, its guide gone but not forgotten, Walter's sacrifice stepping. Onto the train, breaking the curse's hold freed the passengers. Their faces human in his final vision, their souls light, slipping away. But Sarah's scream, her eyes dimming, left a question. Was the curse truly broken, or just sleeping, waiting for a new guide, a new ticket sold after midnight? The recording lived on, a warning, a plea, Walter's voice echoing in dark corners. Of the internet, Clara's name, a whisper of love lost. The train, a shadow that never left Shadowvale. And sometimes, on moonlit nights, when the fog is thick and the pines whisper, a whistle sounds, faint but wrong, and a ticket appears, glowing, waiting for someone to break the rules again. That's the end of the ghost train of Shadowvale Station. Man, what a ride Walter's fight, that creepy train, those rules. Would you dare work a night shift at Shadowvale? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and tell me your spookiest train stories, real or made up. I wanna hear 'em. If you loved this, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more creepy tales every week. Share this with your friends. See who's brave enough to watch it alone at midnight. Stay safe out there, and whatever you do, don't sell a ticket after 12. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.